What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I am your host, AC the Engineer, and we are at episode 200. Yes, 200. Hopefully, everybody had a good day today. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026, year of our Lord, and it's time to get into the greatest afternoon show in the world. You ain't got to believe it, but I believe it. That's all that matters, y'all. But hopefully everybody had a good day today. Welcome back to the show where we go over 4 or 5 topics of just things that I found that we need to review together. Why? Because the world is a crazy place, and the best way for us to know how to move forward is to review this stuff together. Now, if you ever disagree with anything I said, this is a channel where I want you to comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm not going to say I know everything. I'm not going to say I understand everything. But I'm willing to listen and talk about my points, so I'm hopefully you're willing to listen to my points, and I'm willing to listen to yours. But remember, y'all, the best way to show your support if you like this kind of content is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. And lastly, I'm happy that it's Wednesday and it's episode 200. Yes. But you know how I like to do it. Let's jump right into it and let's get over into what we're going to be talking about today, y'all. And of course, we have to go back to South Carolina because a lot of things are happening. Now, if we don't remember or if you didn't watch it, yesterday's show, we talked about a South Carolina convenience store owner or former convenience store owner who was found not guilty after he was proven to have killed a 14-year-old black kid who was running away. Now, a lot of protests have been coming out about this. A lot of people are saying that he should have been charged with manslaughter and he would have been convicted, but he was charged with murder instead. But let's get over into this. We're going to look about something about the protest, and then we're also going to listen to the leaders and attorneys talk about their opinion of the verdict itself. So let's get over into it and see what we can find out about this whole situation, y'all. Remember, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button and that subscribe button. You can also hit that notification bell too so you can be up to date. Let's jump into it.
Drawing strong reactions all across the region hours after the jury acquitted that not guilty verdict. Drawing strong reactions all across the region hours after the jury acquitted Chow of murder. Dozens gathering outside the Columbia gas station he once owned, where that incident started. Our Kiana Jordan was there early this morning when people started rallying.
Anger, grief, and frustration, emotions spilling onto the sidewalk outside the Park Lane Road gas station where Cyrus Carmack Belton was shot to death 3 years ago. Hours after a jury found Rick Chow not guilty, protesters gathering there early Tuesday morning.
And a lot of sorrow, man. That young man had a gun on him, yes, sure, but he not only was he right because he didn't steal the water, he still walked away knowing that he had something that could have protected himself. For him to have the sense to still walk away, that man would have been bright, you know what I'm saying? That man would have been something special about that man, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like something was taken from us as a community.
Some of the protesters say the verdict hits close to home. Genesis Fulmore came out as a mother to pay her respect and protest the verdict.
This baby died. He lost his life. And the verdict itself, hearing that mother cry as a mother with 3 children, it pierced my soul. I am disgusted.
More than 20 Richland County Sheriff's deputy patrol cars, vans, and trucks line the property, which is no longer owned by Rick Chow. Some protesters frustrated by their presence.
Ain't that rub me the wrong way as I come out here and I see a lot of people that look like me. A lot of people, way too much. I feel like that ain't, what side are you on?
I don't understand why there are so many Richland County police deputies out here.
Another man says he came as a father holding a bottle of water up to cars passing by as a symbol of the hate he says black children receive.
Goes to show that a bottle of water, our kids' lives, our lives are not worth a bottle of water.
I think the prosecution failed us because they should have added on the lesser charge, and manslaughter should have also been on the table.
100%. So I'm not going to stop it too much, but that is where my biggest misgivings or anger is coming from, is that the prosecution truly failed us. Now I will say, The fact that he was a 14-year-old who had a gun in the first place, that needs to be discussed. We cannot just leave that out the way. But at the end of the day, it was two people who were there that was the only witnesses, and all they had to say was basically that I feared for my life, or he was trying to protect his son. And it's hard to get a murder conviction, especially when there's not 100%, because they have to be 100%. That's why they kept asking for the definition of what constitutes murder. Because if there's any reasonable doubt, they're not supposed to go with that guilty verdict. And the simple fact that they couldn't go with manslaughter, which would have been an easy win for the prosecution, at least in my understanding, they failed. They truly failed. And now this young kid does not get justice. Because what we know for a fact is that he went into the store. It was proven that he was lied about getting the bottled water stolen. They chased him out, chased him down. For some reason, they was already armed. When he fell, the gun fell out. When he fell, the gun fell out of his pocket. And when he was shot in the back, the bullet trajectory proved that he was leaning, running forward. Like, not that he was turning around. But some reason that wasn't enough. But manslaughter should have been on there. But let's keep going into this.
Robinson with the Racial Justice Network says this protest will not be the only protest, and that the organization is planning an economic boycott coming up. Now, the Shell gas station here on Park Lane Road is now owned by a James 20 LLC, according to the Richland County Public Records. In Richland County, I'm Kiana Jordan, Watch Fox News, local for.
But let's get over into hearing about how the leaders and the attorney feels about this. We're not going to watch the whole thing because it's very long, but there's certain parts that I want to get into. So let's get over into that.
Our lives have value. We deserve justice. We deserve dignity. Black lives matter. As I said, I am here to tell you, we are done dying. Thank you.
Let us now hear from Attorney Todd Rutherford. Let's give him a hand clap of encouragement.
Thank you, Reverend Rivers, and I clearly don't deserve that, because I stand here today at a loss for words of how something like this can happen in a county that I've lived in my entire life. As a 30-year veteran of the criminal justice system, I've never seen anything like it. I stand here with Cyrus's mother to my right, whom I told over the years, it's going to be okay. This can't happen. No, he cannot get away with chasing a child 130 yards and shooting him in the back. No, ma'am, it's not going to happen. He cannot get away with it. And I guess in my calculus, I forgot to include the fact that he was a black child. The diminution of value of black life has got to stop. And it doesn't matter at whose hands. It started off at Mr. Child's hands and it ended with that jury's hands. But it doesn't matter. Our children have value. Our children have worth. Your child had worth.
Now, see, because now remember, this was, well, I don't know if y'all know, but it was a mixed jury. There was black and white people, or colored people and non-colored people on the jury. And the main thing is that we have to remember is that he admitted in court that he never saw the gun. He only shot in order to protect his own son. That's what the prosecution went with. Or no, that's what the defense attorneys went with. And now the jury has to prove or understand and prove with a reasonable doubt, without a reasonable doubt, that he did not do that and he shot and murdered him. We'll look at the definition of murder later, but it's hard to prove that he wasn't truly fearing for his son's life. When he admitted he didn't see the gun and he shot because his son yelled, he has a gun, so he shot. Now, do I think he should have been charged and should be in jail? 100%. But I don't want to say that it's because he was a black kid. At least that's not what I'm feeling. But let me know your thoughts. Let's keep going into this.
Stand here today because we have got to impose even those values on ourselves. That our children are not thugs. That our children, even in trying to protect themselves, end up in situations where they get a bullet in their back and a jury says that that is okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not. Not okay. It is not. We cannot believe for one more second that our children, because of the color of their skin, are worth less than those that don't look like us. I challenge those who say, well, that's what the jury said. There were blacks on the jury. There was a black prosecutor. And so it is what it is. I challenge you to show me in this country where that has happened and the assailants look like us and the victim did not. That's right. That's right. I get.
My immediate thoughts come to O.J. Simpson, but I might be mistaken. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Frequent phone calls about, well, the prosecution, they should have asked for voluntary manslaughter.
100%.
Well, what they don't realize, even in asking that question, you're suggesting to me that a 14-year-old with a bullet in his back, his value cannot reach the level of murder? They should have started off with less than murder? No more. No.
Yes. I hate to say it, but yes, they should have. It's as simple as that. And we got to remember the fact that no matter what reason, the 14-year-old had a gun. If he did not have a gun and this situation happened, he would be in jail right at this whole time. At least that's my thinking. But let's keep going into this.
This was nothing less than a bullet in the back and murder, no different than it would have been on a white store owner being chased by black children, on a Chinese kid running out of a store being chased by two black kids. This was exactly what the prosecution said it was, and I'm sorry that the jury didn't agree, but the jury was wrong. And while we have to respect what the jury said because we don't have a choice, they were wrong. And those that looked at it and said, well, how is there malice? Because he was shot in the back after running for his life. And if you listen to the witnesses, they said when he came out of the store, he had nothing but fear in his eyes, and he was running so fast he lost his shoe. And he kept on running. And what did Mrs. Chow do? She went and got the shoe. They said, well, he had no money when he found him. Do you think that people would pick up somebody else's shoe, wouldn't pick up the cash? Have you not heard of Cash App? Did he need cash in his pocket in order to pay for the water bottles that he did not steal, that he didn't pick up, that he didn't leave the store with? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a simple case of someone armed, running with their adult son as they chased a 14-year-old child over a football field's length and shot him in the back. This was what the family saw, what the community saw, what the whole world now sees. This was a murder, and it is gone without the ability to hold someone accountable.
Now, I 100% agree that it was a murder. I think it was murder because I do not believe that the 14-year-old child was trying to shoot at him. But you have to get a jury to believe that without a reasonable doubt. Now, that is what's supposed to happen. But I truly believe that if there was even a possibility that they could have gotten a not guilty verdict, I think they should have had that lesser charge in there, or at least start with the lesser charge. I don't know how they were supposed to do it, but manslaughter should have been on the table. At least that's my thinking. But let's keep going up and finish this up.
I'm going to try my best to hold them accountable on the civil level. We have filed a lawsuit. We plan on following suit with that. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we know that a civil suit is coming. We're not surprised about that. But let's get over into the AI breakdown just to wrap this whole section up. So as we know, protest has erupted throughout Columbia, South Carolina following the June 1st acquittal of the store owner Rick Chow for the 2023 murder of the 14-year-old Cypress. Demonstrations has gathered to voice their deep anger over the verdict and regretting and reigniting local civil rights movements that began when the teenager was shot in the back after falsely accused of shoplifting. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, I understand. He definitely was falsely accused. We have proven evidence that he was falsely accused of shoplifting. So we got dozens of communities going around with water bottles saying that his life was not worth more than a water bottle. We got scheduled memorials in June, or was that today? So Rick Chow wrongly suspected of shoplifting water bottles despite the team putting the items back. Chow and his son pursued him over 130 yards off the property, where Chow fired a fatal shot in the boy's back. Prosecution argued that he acted unnecessarily aggressive over the uncommitted minor offense. The defense successfully argued self-defense under state law, asserting that the teenager possessed a firearm and pointed it at Chow's son during the chase, a claim disputed by prosecutors and independent witnesses. So they disputed because witnesses said that they did not see a gun in his hand when he was running. My thinking is when he fell, because it's proven that he did fall, the gun fell out of his pocket. Now we still got to remember, why does a 14-year-old have a gun in the first place? That's another problem we got to talk about. But I did want to get into, was there actually any evidence that the 14-year-old actually pointed the gun at him, or did he not? So there's conflicting evidence on these specific details. So we got testimony from the son, Andy Chow, took that the witness stand and testified directly that he pointed a 9mm handgun directly at him during the chase, causing him to believe that he was about to shoot. So the defense played audio from Andy Cook's 911 call and police body cam footage recorded minutes after the shooting. In those recordings, Andy consistently told dispatchers and deputies that he pulled a gun, which the defense used to argue the threat wasn't fabricated later. Law enforcement confirmed that investigators recovered a 9mm pistol with a laser attachment near the body at the scene, with a laser on it. Ooh. So, and then we got the evidence that he did not point a gun. So independent eyewitnesses, 4 separate independent bystanders who witnessed the chase, testified under oath that they never saw anything in his hand, nor did they see him point a gun or threaten anyone. One witness stated that the 14-year-old looked visibly terrified as he ran, which is understandable. He's getting chased with 2 guns. Evidence from the police interviews and body cam footage revealed that Rick Chow himself never actually saw him holding the gun before firing. He shot strictly because his son yelled he got a gun. So on cross-examination, prosecution highlighted that while Andy Chow told 911 dispatchers the teen pulled a gun, he did not state during the initial emergency call that the gun was actually pointed at him. And then we got forensic evidence. This is the kicker now. Forensic evidence from the pathologist testified that the fatal bullet entered directly through the teenager's back. The wound path was highly consistent with someone leaning forward while actively fleeing, proving that he was shot behind while not turning around to aim a weapon. Now remember, y'all, that Rick Chow was the one on trial for murder at this point. I definitely spelled that wrong, but they'll know what I'm talking about. So murder is the unlawful killing of a human being with malice aforethought. The legal definition requires the government to prove that the defendant killed someone intentionally or with reckless disregard for life without any legal justification or excuse. Now that is what he was on trial for, is murder. And he has testified clearly that he did not see the gun and he only reacted because he feared for his life. That is what I'm thinking that the jury went through and kept, because they spent a while deliberating on this exact thing. Can you truly charge him with murder when he has admitted that he did not see the gun and he only shot in fear for his son's life? Now, do I think he should have been charged with something? 100%. But with the evidence that they have, do you think that they had enough to get him with murder? When he admitted that he did not see the gun already. You already know he's already admitted that. He did not see the gun. Or is it enough that even though he The simple fact that he did not see the gun and he shot anyway. But that is a wild situation, y'all. Now, I do think the prosecution dropped the ball on this case simply because I think manslaughter should have been an option. I think they would have won that case 100%. Would it have been what the family truly wanted? 100? No. I can understand that. But in and itself, this case had a lot of problems. The fact is, the 14-year-old should not have been wandering around with a gun. Now, do I think the store owner created this whole problem in the first place? Yes, because he chased him out of the store with armed already for someone who was falsely accused of stealing water. Now, do I think he didn't know at the time he didn't steal water? But in general, you chase someone out of the store with a gun and all over some stolen water. In general, he should have been charged with something. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. This is a crazy topic, and it's going to take a lot. We'll see what happens, and if they try to go back to trial. Well, they can't go back to trial with murder, but they might be able to get him go back to trial with manslaughter. If I'm not mistaken, that's not double jeopardy. You can't be charged with the same crime twice. Let's see. Okay, so double jeopardy. You cannot prosecute or try twice under the same underlying criminal act, after the jury issue an acquittal. So yeah, you can't do anything with it. They might I don't know what they can do actually. Let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That's a wild case, and a lot of people are outraged by it. But let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you understand where the jury is coming from, or you completely lost on how they came from it. We're going to pivot now into our next topic we're going to, and we got to go to Long Island. Yeah, we got to go to Long Island, where we have a man who was ended up killed after a woman cut his throat while he was sleeping. Absolutely wild. Now let's get over into this situation. We got a few videos to look at, and then of course we'll go over to the AI breakdown to exactly wrap it all up. So let's get into it. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button and that subscribe button. But let's jump into it. Let's see what we find out, y'all.
So many unanswered questions. I'm standing right in front of the house where that 28-year-old was found this morning dead. Behind me, you can see there's still police tape. This is still an active investigation. Now, detectives have arrested a 22-year-old woman. She is in custody tonight in connection with this homicide, but they still haven't explained what exactly happened inside this house. So many people on this block told us they woke up to helicopters overhead, police dogs barking, and officers going from backyard to backyard. Then they learned a 28-year-old man had been stabbed to death inside the home where he lived with his mom and dad. Police say a 22-year-old woman left before they arrived. Neighbors say officers searched for her and it lasted for several hours. People who we spoke with tell us that family members are saying the 28-year-old and that 22-year-old woman may have actually met through a dating app. Police have not confirmed that, though.
Nothing's for sure, but possibly over a dating app. Possibly. Nothing's for sure, though.
And where did you hear that from?
I heard that from my neighbors.
I saw all the flashing lights and all the police coming down the street, and then the helicopter. Obviously, that was as loud as could be for 2 hours. And then I saw them actually in his yard with the dog, with the lights, searching for whoever.
Police have not released the names of that 28-year-old or the 22-year-old. They're also not telling us how exactly they knew each other or what happened inside that house that left this 28-year-old man dead of stab wounds.
Now let's get over into this next video where they give us more details.
We begin with that murder case on Long Island of a 22-year-old man who died in his father's arms after he was stabbed in the neck while he slept.
News 4's Paisley Chang live for us in Massapequa now with new details about that woman who police say carried out such a heinous crime, Paisley.
Yeah, Adam and Gilma, you know, family members of the victim cried out loud in court today as the prosecutor detailed how this young man was killed. 22-year-old Kristen Scully is described as an acquaintance, and now she's been charged with his murder. Why she allegedly did it is still unclear.
Did you do it? No comment from Kristen Scully as she was led out of police headquarters in handcuffs. The 22-year-old accused of killing 28-year-old Bobby Carragher in his home.
Kristen Scully became angry towards our victim and stabbed him in the neck while he lay sleeping in bed. He climbed the stairs to seek the assistance of his mother, screaming.
Police say it's not clear if the two were romantically involved, but they were acquaintances. Scully had been invited to his house. After his parents found him bleeding to death in the kitchen, a massive police search ensued, with cops searching every corner of this neighborhood.
I woke up at 2 in the morning to red lights and woke my mom up, and then we saw that there was something wrong with the house because there was a lot of cops and ambulances.
Police say Scully was found hiding inside the Carragher's home along with a pocket knife they believe is the murder weapon. Today, she was charged with murder in the second degree. She pleaded not guilty.
She stabbed a grown man in the neck with a knife. This is her crime. I don't know. What situation could you be in? Some cheating? Some people are saying they might have been dating. We don't know for sure. Hasn't been confirmed. But what could make you stab someone in the neck while they were sleeping? The only thing I can think about is some kind of assault. But we can't put that out in the air simply because we don't know what the reason is. At this point, she is the suspect and the killer, suspected killer. And he is the victim. We don't know exactly what happens, but hopefully we get more information about this. But you have to be one cold SOB to do that out of pure rage and anger. Let's keep going into this.
Neither the Scully family or the victim's family stopped to speak to reporters, but Bobby's friends remembered him fondly.
Bobby lit up any room he went into. He was the funniest person ever that ever lived.
Wouldn't even hurt a fly.
A lot of sick people this was.
The kid wouldn't hurt a fly.
Friends say Scully and Carragher had been friends for several years.
It's a girl he spoke to, and he's been to his house multiple times. She was welcomed in by his family, and she waited for my friend to fall asleep, and she killed him.
Scully was not granted bail. Her next court date is June 4th. Meanwhile, friends of the victim told us that they plan on having a candlelight vigil near his house at 8:30 tonight. We're
100%. I 100% don't think she needs to have bail to be able to get out. She's killed somebody in her sleep. That for right now, all we can know is that it was done out of pure anger. But let's keep going. Let's do one more where we hear more about them from the victims, from the family and friends.
A gathering tonight on Long Island for the man who was stabbed while he was sleeping and then died in his father's arms. Friends and family coming together to remember 28-year-old Bobby Carragher. Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon in Massapequa tonight.
Tonight, those who knew Bobby Carragher and his family are still struggling to make sense of it, horrified by the violence that cut his life short.
He was only 28 years old, and for something like that to happen to somebody so young, it's just very shocking. You know, he was a good guy.
They comforted one another, standing outside the home where Carragher was attacked early Monday morning. 22-year-old Kristen Scully was charged with his murder today, accused of using a pocket knife to stab him as he slept.
It makes you lose faith in humanity a little bit, thinking that someone could just take someone's life so easily like that. It's a really messed up thing.
Authorities say the two were acquainted. They gave no details of their relationship or a motive, but say just after the attack, Carragher managed to get from his basement bedroom to his parents upstairs.
The individual who died in his father's arms. No family should ever have to bear witness to their son being killed in that manner.
Nobody should ever have to ever experience anything like that. Them, the parents, anything.
Tonight, they're remembering the way he lived.
He was just a funny person, walked in the room, always had something funny to say.
A father of another friend calling the loss extremely tough, as he remembered the night Bobby and his son first bonded.
Over the next 20 years, he always put a smile on my face.
The suspect, Kristen Scully, is also from this community, and people who knew her tell Eyewitness News it's hard to understand how she could be capable of something so violent. They wonder if anyone will ever know what happened between the two of them before Bobby Carragher fell asleep Sunday night. Scully is being held without bail after pleading not guilty to second-degree murder. In Massapequa.
Now, I feel like I understand they were dating. They don't want to say it, or it hasn't been confirmed, but it just makes sense that they were dating. But let's get over into AI breakdown to see if they tell us anything else. I doubt it will, but you know we have to check. So we got the 22-year-old woman who has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder after allegedly stabbing 28-year-old Long Island man in the neck while he slept. So we know those are the two. So it happened at 1:30 a.m. on Monday, June 1st, 2026. It happened in the basement bedroom of his parents' home in Long Island. According to the county police department, they had spent the time together earlier in the evening before returning to the residence. Investigators alleged that while he was asleep, she attacked him with a knife. Following the attack, the victim attempted to seek help from his parents, who were at the home at the time. The emergency service was contacted, but he succumbed to his injuries at the scene. Officers arriving at the scene located the killer inside the residence. She was taken into custody, and the knife was recovered. She was arraigned in court yesterday and charged with second-degree murder. She pleaded not guilty, and the judge ordered her to be held without bail. The defense attorney indicated that they are investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident, including potential self-defense. I don't understand how you get self-defense when someone's sleeping, but that is the defense attorney's job, to try to come up with something. I'm assuming just spitting out the ball, I'm assuming they're going to say he was abusive, that behind closed doors that he was a monster, and that the only time she felt safe, or she felt so scared of what would happen when he wakes up, that she felt that the only way necessary was to kill him while he slept. Now, that is going to be a crazy way to spin that, but that is most likely how the defense attorney is going to play this, or they're going to try to look for a plea deal. It's a crazy situation, y'all, but let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know what you think about it, or if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. We're going to pivot now into our third topic we're going to be discussing today. And we're going over into another crazy situation where we got to go over to Texas. We have a babysitter who, for some reason, allowed 3 dogs to kill the infant she was watching and also hurt her own child. Now, I don't think allowed is the right word, but she was warned before that the dogs were dangerous and she needed to do something about them. So let's get over into this and see what this whole thing is about. And then, of course, we'll go over into the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information about it. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is hit that like button and that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
A woman will spend 14 years in prison for allowing 3 dogs to attack and kill a 1-year-old named Jariah Johnson back in 2024. A judge handing down that sentence to Heather Rodriguez about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And during today's proceedings, a prosecutor revealed that Rodriguez left her home that day, but says that she did not go to work like she said. KSAT's Bashada Pope was in the courtroom for that sentencing and has more on the revelation and reaction from Jariah's parents. Bashada.
Our
Ernie and Myra, when the prosecution made that statement, there were gasps and expressions of shock on the faces of Jariah's family. It had long been told that Rodriguez had left her 13-year-old daughter at home with Jariah and the dogs because she was going to work. Now, that was revealed after both sides in this case offered testimony from family members and other witnesses. Now, the prosecution had several witnesses take the stand, including Jariah's parents. And his father described how his son brought him, his family, and everyone who saw him immediate joy. And he says his loss has left him with a deep void that he believes cannot be filled. Jariah's mother telling the court how she did not believe the child she saw at the hospital was her own son. Today, both spoke directly to Rodriguez.
To learn that you went elsewhere, to learn that on campus, they told you numerous times to call me and you never did. It really angers me. And I just want to know why. Like, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you text me? Because it could have all been avoided.
No one deserves this. Both your side of the family and our side of the family, we all don't deserve this. This all could have been avoided with a 30-second phone call because we would have left work without hesitation. God forgives everybody, but I can't.
See, I'm confused because isn't your job babysitting? What do you mean you left to, I mean, we now know that she wasn't going to work, but what you mean you left my son alone because you have to go to work? You were already at work. But guess she got two jobs, and I guess she decided to leave. Oh, well, we know that's a lie now, but let's keep going into this.
Again, in the end, the judge handed down a 14-year sentence to Rodriguez as part of the plea deal. That is the maximum she could have received. Now, also because of that plea deal, she cannot appeal. Reporting live at the Acreview's Justice Center, Pashada Pope.
14 years. Do you think that's enough? Let's get into the next video.
Our top story tonight, we know the fate of a woman whose 3 dogs attacked and killed a 1-year-old boy. Jariah Johnson was mauled to death by the dogs of Heather Rodriguez while she was babysitting him back in 2024. KENS 5 reporter Mike Jimenez joins us live with the details after a judge handed down her sentence this afternoon. Mike?
Isis, before the judge handed down Rodriguez's sentencing, there was some emotional testimony from Jariah's family on how his death has impacted them.
It's ruined me. I couldn't imagine it. This pain I have is something that's torturous.
Fighting through tears, Julian Johnson, father of 1-year-old Jariah Johnson, took the stand in a Bexar County courtroom before the sentencing of Heather Rodriguez. In October of 2024, Rodriguez was supposed to be babysitting Jariah in her Northeast Side home, but left him alone with her 13-year-old daughter. Deputies say Rodriguez had 3 aggressive pit bulls in the home. The dogs were able to break through a door, attacking and injuring the teen and fatally injuring Jariah. Jariah fought for his life inside a hospital, but ultimately died from his injuries. Jariah's grandfather also took the stand, where he said Jariah's death has changed everything and spoke about arriving to the hospital, but it was too late.
I'm left with the image of him laying on that table. You know, I try to get that image out of my head, but I can't get it out of my head.
Rodriguez was charged with 2 felony counts of abandonment or endangering a child. In March, she accepted a plea deal and Monday pled no contest. Rodriguez was sentenced on one of those charges to 14 years in prison.
This didn't have to happen. There's no reason for you for take your responsibility.
During Monday's sentencing, Jariah's father remembered Jariah's eyes, smile, and soft and curly hair, and spoke about the impact his death has had on him and Jariah's mother, Erica.
I think it changed me in a way where our relationship couldn't be the same. It made me fear
It made me not trust the world. It made me scared that if I turn my back for a second, that I lose her too.
That's something no father wants to deal with or needs to go through. That was heartbreaking. Let's finish this video.
And although Rodriguez was sentenced to 14 years, she will be given credit for the 601 days she's already served.
Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let's get over into the AI breakdown just to wrap this section up. So as we know, Heather Rodriguez, 37-year-old babysitter from Texas, was sentenced to 14 years in prison. In October 2024, she left the 1-year-old Jariah and her own 13-year-old daughter alone inside of her home while she went out. She confined the children to a bedroom to separate them from her 3 pit bulls. The 3 aggressive dogs forced their way into the room. The 13-year-old girl fought the dogs in a tug-of-war to save the toddler, but was overpowered and injured. Jariah sustained severe head and neck trauma and died the following day. Rodriguez had been previously cited for owning aggressive dogs and aggressive and dangerous dogs, but they had not been removed from her custody prior to the fatal attack. So she took a plea deal to avoid a maximum 20-year sentence by accepting a plea deal on March 26, 2026. She pleaded guilty to 1 felony count of abandoning or endangering a child. The judge officially handed down the maximum allowable sentence with 14 years in prison following emotional victims' impact statements from the infant's parents. All 3 dogs involved in the tragic were seized and subsequently euthanized. I was going to ask that. It sounds like those dogs have to be put down. Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. How would you feel? I wouldn't even know how I would feel in this whole situation. I'd be numb. But the simple fact, where was she going? That is my whole question. Where did she go? She obviously didn't go to work. Was she going out to meet a boo thing? What was so important to where she decided to leave 2 children alone with dogs that she can't even control? 3 aggressive pit bulls broke into the door. You know how crazy that is? They broke into the room and immediately started attacking her own child and the one she was supposed to be babysitting. And instead of calling the parents to tell them, oh, I have to go somewhere, come get your kid, she left them alone with the 13-year-old, I guess thinking that it was fine. But the 13-year-old couldn't even stop those 3 aggressive dogs. I don't know why she thought they would. She would. It's a tragic situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. There are some horrible people in this world who do a lot of stupid things. But this is why we have to review this stuff together, y'all. We got to review this stuff together. Now we're going to pivot over into our last topic we're going to be discussing today. And we got to go to one of our favorite airlines to talk about. We got to go to Frontier Airlines, where we have a man who on a flight to Chicago ended up trying to break into the cockpit, open an emergency door exit, and also assaulted a Frontier Airlines, what are they called? Stewardess. Flight attendant. Wow. Let's get over into it and see what this whole thing is about. But luckily, it seems like he was stopped by a former MMA fighter. So let's get over into that and see what we can find out. Remember, y'all, let me know your thoughts on this situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Let's jump over into it, see what we can learn.
It was a wild ride for passengers on a flight to Chicago on Sunday night. The flight was forced to land in Miami due to an unruly passenger, but a helpful former MMA fighter made all the difference in what happened next. Your CBS News correspondent, Tom Hansen.
Video shows the frantic moments passengers and a crew member aboard the Frontier flight jumped in to restrain a man. Later identified as 51-year-old Juan Reyes, moments after he attempted to open an emergency exit. Reyes also attempted to enter the cockpit, attempted to urinate on the floor of a lavatory, and choked an off-duty Frontier Airlines flight attendant, according to his arrest affidavit.
This is Frontier Flight 3345.
They're waiting for you at the gate. Go right to the gate.
Josh Longgood, a former MMA fighter, was on the flight, seen here helping subdue the unruly passenger.
I knew he was going to do something crazy, so I restrained him and put him against the window and then kind of safely controlled him so he couldn't hurt anybody.
Authorities in Miami boarded the flight and took Reyes into custody. The flight continued on to Chicago a few hours later.
We've got to figure out a way to keep this from happening.
In 2023, an unruly passenger was able to open a plane's emergency exit just before landing in South Korea. But CBS News transportation expert and analyst Robert Sumwalt says that's virtually impossible to do at cruising altitude.
We all know that airplanes are pressurized, and because of the pressure inside of the airplane itself, it is pushing against the doors and the windows and the latching mechanisms to make it physically impossible to open a door or a window in flight.
Our thanks to Tom Hansen for that report. The unruly passenger has been charged with battery, and he could also face FAA fines of more than $40,000.
Let's get over into this next video and find out more about this.
While chaos broke out on this Frontier Airlines flight from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Chicago, Josh Longgood remained calm.
I just didn't want anyone to get hurt, so, it was my duty to, do that. I could tell, he was heavily intoxicated and who knows what else.
Yeah. The former professional MMA fighter and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt immediately jumped in to subdue who police later identified as Juan Reyes. Moments earlier, he's accused of trying to open an emergency exit mid-flight. Reyes attempted to urinate on the bathroom floor, enter the cockpit, and choked an off-duty flight attendant, according to his arrest report.
I just grabbed him, restrained him as safely as possible, kind of just really put him in his row and laid him down, kind of framed against him, controlled his hands and his feet.
Chill out, girl. He had a lot of restraint. This man, he was trying to piss on the floor, choking flight attendants. He could have punched and knocked him out and nobody would have said a thing. But all right, yeah, you subdued him. Showed a lot of restraint. Let's keep going into this, y'all.
Reyes was eventually able to slip the plastic hand restraints.
It was just like holding down a kid throwing a tantrum. I kind of tied his legs up with my legs and controlled his hands.
Longgood says he held Reyes down until the plane made an emergency landing in Miami, where local police came aboard.
So I was joking. I was like, we're going to be best friends after this, bro.
So far this year, the FAA has investigated 687 unruly passenger reports. Aviation expert Robert Sumwalt says opening a door at cruising altitude is extremely difficult.
Because of the pressure inside of the airplane itself, it is pushing against the doors and the windows and the latching mechanisms to make it physically impossible to open a door or a window in flight.
If you were in the situation again, would you do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm capable of doing something like that. I know that I can do that and help people be safe.
And Longgood says while wrestling and mixed martial arts has been part of his life for a long time now, this is actually the first time that he's used his training outside of the mat. Now, as for that unruly passenger, he was charged with battery and could face FAA fines of more than $40,000.
Now, I believe we got the gist of everything. Let's go over into the AI breakdown just to wrap up this whole section. So as we know, let's get over into it. So as we know, we got the former MMA fighter and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt successfully restrained 51-year-old unruly passenger Juan Reyes, who was attempting to open an emergency door mid-flight on the Frontier airline. It happened on flight 3345 that was traveling from Puerto Rico to the International Airport, Chicago International Airport, on Sunday. Approximately 45 minutes into the flight, he became highly disruptive. He explicitly stated that he wanted to get off the plane, tried to force open the rear emergency doors and aggravatedly slammed his shoulder into the cockpit door to break inside. After being moved to a different seat by the flight attendants, Ramirez attempted to grab a bag and began choking an off-duty airline employee who had volunteered to sit next to him. We know that the former MMA fighter intervened and stepped in to help. So I wanted to get more into who he was. So according to the federal criminal complaint, we got the 51-year-old suspect Juan Reyes. He said that, so here's all the things that he did. He attempted to open the emergency door exit. He stood up and explicitly stated to the flight attendants and passengers that he wanted to leave the aircraft. He then walked to the back of the plane and attempted to force open the rear emergency doors mid-flight. Breached the cockpit. So after being stopped by the flight attendants in order to return to his seat, Ramirez ignored the command. He walked to the front of the aircraft, grabbed the handles of the cockpit doors, and aggressively slammed his shoulder into the pilot doors and attempted to break inside. Flight attendants managed to usher him away from the cockpit. On his way back to the cabin, they allowed him to use the restroom, where he intentionally urinated all over the floors. And then lastly, the crew members relocated to a new row to isolate him. An off-duty airline's flight attendant volunteered to sit in his row to help monitor him. While the off-duty employee briefly stepped away to use the restroom, he went through the employee's space and tried to steal his bag off the floor. When the employees returned, caught him and asked him to stop, he lunged across the aisle. He climbed on top of the off-duty employee, grabbed him by the head, and began choking him. The violent assault is what triggered the former MMA fighter and the passengers to jump and physically pin him down. And then as the passengers worked to secure him, he repeatedly broke the plastic cuffs in the cabin. In an in-cabin cell phone footage showed Ramirez aggressively resisting, shouting verbal abuse, and screaming at the crew and passengers who were tying his limbs down with seatbelt extenders. Witnesses noted he heavily smelled of alcohol and appeared heavily intoxicated. I do not understand how someone can get so intoxicated on a flight. First of all, I'm not trying to be that intoxicated on a flight in the first place. But the fact that I like to mind my own business. That is what I like to do. Especially when I'm on a flight. It's already crowded because I'm not sitting in first class. So I don't understand why anybody would want to cause a scene on the airplane, especially while we're in the sky. Like you got a problem with somebody, at least let it wait until we land. Like we are already in this tight spot, it's already an enclosed space. Let's at least save the time, save your frustrations till when we land. But luckily we had that former MMA fighter on there who was able to restrain him. It could have been worse. He could have assaulted more people. They already said that it wasn't possible for him to open the emergency door exits, but he could have done a lot more damage. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That is the end of the show today, y'all. We talked about a lot of crazy things. Like always, if you disagree with anything I said, please leave a comment. I'm never going to say I'm always right. I'm never going to say I always understand anything. But I'm willing to listen to it so we can hear our points. The world is a crazy place and we have to review the world together, y'all. Now these videos will be broken down so you can go back and watch the one you want. But remember, if you enjoy this content, all I ask for support is just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. But that's it for now, y'all. You already know I got to play that outro. Peace.